journey to intentional living is about finding the courage, the desire, and the freedom to finally choose peace. It's about recognizing that being okay with not being okay is okay. And if just barely making it through the day is all you can manage, then you are winning. This is my story. This is our story. This is our journey to intentional living. Hello everyone, this is Journey to Intentional Living, and today I have with me Mrs. Kelsey Root. She is an educator. I met Kelsey when we were co-workers at a school. She was the English teacher there, and I thought then that Kelsey was an awesome person. I thought then that she was just very approachable and very humble, and so Kelsey has an awesome story that I would like her to tell us. She left teaching, right, and moved to India. So I kind of want to share Kelsey's personal story and her trip to India, and we want to also introduce Kelsey's. She is the co-founder of School of the Future. So we want to hear Kelsey's story, and I'm going to have Kelsey introduce herself. Kelsey, tell us a little bit about your
personal life.
Well, you
start
wherever. If you
so
want to start
hard.
personal, professional, whichever one you want to start.
And it's funny because people ask like, "What's the deal with School of Future?" They're like, "What is it?" Oh, because everybody when I'm here, they're like, "Oh, you're teaching still?" I heard you keep mentioning students, blah blah blah. So I had students.
Yeah.
You know, because we get about 25 students. We pick 25 students to join per month. So I know all of them, and it's like I have a very close relationship with them, but. School of Future is not a full school; it's an extracurricular.
Yeah.
And so anyways, people ask what it is, and it's like, do you want like the version that I tell when I'm trying to like get a new customer? Or do you want the version like because I feel like I'm on repeat of like saying how it is, and so it's,
I think let's start with you personally first.
okay.
So your educational background and why you chose to be an educator.
Yeah.
To start.
Okay. My educational background. Should I look at the camera?
Either way.
Or you?
Back
I
and
don't know
forth.
how
Yeah,
talk
we can
go. I did this when I was very young for fun.
We can go back and forth. No.
Yeah. My educational background is I went to the University of Michigan for English major, became what I chose because that just seemed like where I thrive, like those kind of discussion classes and being able to like write everything and finalize the piece was fun. That was like where I really thrived. Universities, and plus there was just such a wide range of classes to take at University of Michigan with English. It was just kind of like you are learning everything about the world if you want to, because there's just that wide range. So I ended up realizing that should be my major. And then as many English majors face, you're kind of like, okay, I'm graduating as an English major. What, like, where should I go?
What do you do with it?
Yeah, and so I always knew I wanted to be a teacher since I was very little. Like, we played that game in school, and I was always like the boss person with that stuff. But I always
been the boss.
Yeah, like I'm very bossy actually. People that know me well, I'm like really bossy and perfectionist. But yeah. But so I kind of figured, I'd be a teacher and I'll be a CEO and an advertising agent and a journalist, like all these things that you think of when you're like growing up. And so then I was like, okay, let's do teaching. I figured I'd be a teacher when I was like 40 as like a thing that I just do. Yeah. But then I was like, okay, let's just do it now. Let's get the degree. So then I went to Wayne State and got my teaching degree in a year and a half after I graduated from Michigan. So I kind of was just like, plow through, let's go, let's get it moving. And so I got the degree and then started working at, my first teaching job was, actually my first job was a long-time subbing position at Birmingham Public Schools, and that was great. So I feel like I've hit all the ranges of types of schools. Then I taught in Hamtramck as my first year of teaching. For a couple of years I taught in Hamtramck middle school. All the students were Yemenis and Bengalis, so that was really interesting too, like a wide range of English-speaking levels. So love that, and then I was so thrilled when I got the job at DCH. Like I met with Miss Peoples, and they were like eating McDonald's and offering me French fries during the interview, and they were awesome though. that like we really, I like didn't expect to hit it off, because I was kind of like, oh, I don't really know if I want another chartered position, to be honest. I'm kind of ready to like get into the public school district, but like that was just really alignment and just like seeing eye to eye. They just like got me, and they offered me the job in that interview itself, and so I was like, this is gonna be much better. I get to teach high school creative writing, and I'm excited for like, you know, students who can speak, and they delivered. Like students really were able to open up about so much more than I've ever had in any like teaching experience before that.
Wow.
Because they were high schoolers, right? And I was so really felt good at DCH with all the like the staff. I was just laughing to myself in the bathroom thinking about like Mr. Lewis and just like people there that and Mr. Hall obviously too.
Yeah.
So that's an overview of the teaching side.
Okay.
Yeah, professional.
So
That was professional, not personal. I'm sorry.
Right.
I didn't do anything
okay.
personal.
So tell us, kind of give us your, well, I guess we kind of hit on some of the personal in that too.
Yeah.
So you switch careers,
Yeah.
and we're kind of jumping a little bit, but you switch careers
Completely.
and you left teaching. So what made you?
Yeah.
Give us your journey from switching from being a teacher to being co-founder of School of
Right.
the Future.
And it feels weird because it's like, oh, I'm switching my career teaching, but it feels like my career right now is so much still a teacher, but other areas that I actually am able to thrive more at. And like being mentorship portion, right? Like, but the switch kind of came for me in a way where I'm in the classroom and I'm realizing to be honest, I am not the most organized person. Classroom management was hard for me to be able to discipline in a way that's fair to everybody and make sure that you don't have, like, I hated being the bad guy at times. Like, I hated being the bad guy that I felt like I was just mad at somebody for stuff that I would normally let my friends do, but like you can't let people do it in the classroom.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't like that side of the relationship, and I really found myself loving my favorite parts of the school day was after school when kids would stay and like talking one-on-one. I was much better at that. I considered becoming a counselor actually. I was like, how long is this degree? Can I become a counselor? Like,
I think we talked about that.
I was really heavily considering that because I was like, I know up there, I love like the performing element of teaching where you're like, you get to planning a lesson is really, really fun for me. And sometimes being up there is really fun, but I know that my like discipline portion was getting haywire in some ways. Like I knew that I wasn't meant for that part, and I felt like I was not doing them a justice at times. Like I really felt like these students should be in a room where there's they have more discipline in order to finish their assignments. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just felt like they could be doing so much more all the time. Like and even the way the assignments are as a teacher, you're just kind of like, I feel like I'm giving I don't want everybody, we have to test everybody on the same thing, but why? Like this is too easy for you, this is too hard for you. Like I see this kind of crazy student be able to go in a different direction, but they don't, there's nowhere for them to go that's structured like that in classrooms. So I realized there were a ton of ed tech jobs happening in India. That's like what I discovered. Somebody in New York City when I was visiting a friend was like, oh yeah, ed tech, and I thought ed tech and like tech was just like out of my reach completely. Like I was like, I'm an English major and a teacher. Like business, tech world. Like I knew like startup terms just were really intimidating to me. But then I realized, oh, there's all this happening in India, and I'm gonna go for it. And so I started to go for it. I started to just reading the job descriptions of these ed tech like startups were getting me excited because it was like such a wide range of tasks for someone to do that involved a lot more creativity, like a lot more like creating what content students will read, creating activities and things for students, and that kind of just that space of like strategic thinking as well for the businesses. So anyways, I just started to apply to a lot, and then had a lot of interviews actually. But the one interview with Aditi, who is now my business partner, I knew her company was small. Like I could tell it was small at the time, and the job title was co-founder and like a UI UX designer, like a web designer, completely out of my league. But I had just started, like I really had barely started, like some of my friends are web designers and I had them give me lessons and I was just getting into that stuff because I was like, let's go for it. Like I was crazy. I was like, let's do it. Like, and I was just like spending all my free time trying to do that. And then when I finally like met her, it was like the perfect timing. I had just enough skills So we interviewed on a Friday, and then over the weekend, I built like what I thought would be a really cool prototype, like a cool website for the students to use, and I built it all by hand in like 48 hours with like my very limited skills. I was like crazy. I was like, this is idiotic. She's gonna think that this is crazy. That she's gonna think that this is just reckless and weird, and like I'm just patching it together. And I had like when I first saw her product, my brain went crazy. I had so many ideas for what she wanted to accomplish. I'm a little bit all over the place with this because I don't know, but like our interview was like I was telling her about Detroit students and what I like wanted for them. Like I wanted them to have some kind of website in place where there would never be a limit to like where they could keep like they can keep going. You know what I mean? When you have a student finishes early and they're just sitting there, angers me more than anything. Like there's so many students, the best students like that are just waiting for more instructions and waiting for more to do. And I was like, if that kind of kid can come on a website and just like go ham in the area that they're interested in, that would change the game for students. So I wanted, when Aniki and I talked, my brain went wild, and I actually this is maybe kind of lame or sentimental, but I literally cried. I remember like driving around that day, like started crying to myself, thinking about like the students that were in my classroom. If I could build a product for them that would let them do way more than I was offering in the classroom, I was like, I can't wait for this to like change the game for Detroit students. That was clearly on my mind, was Detroit students, because I was there every day. And so then I built this for Aditi over 48 hours, super nervous. I was like, she might think this is a complete joke. But supposedly the story goes that she was jumping around her brother's office showing everybody what I had built, because she was like, this is crazy good. Yeah, because it was a lot of like, it was messy. Like the colors were like not perfect and the alignment was like okay. But like the idea behind it was really, really cool, what she like liked. And so then I moved there with like the intention of like, what am I? Am I the content writer? And then she was like, bro, you're the product lead. After a while, we really hit it off. Like we are still like we're obviously cool, like we're best friends working together as partners. So she was like, "This is cool." Like you. So now my job is very much a combination of creating the product and creating what the student does for the 100-day experience, and like continuously making that better for them so that they can accomplish more.
So did you when you first made this, because this was like totally different career change. A complete 180. So, was there any fear in that? Did you have any reservations at first?
Honestly, no. I'm like some decisions I'm really indecisive about, but some decisions, if I know, I really, really know.
Yeah.
And it's not really completely a 180. Like I was looking at other jobs that were also just like advertising, like digital marketing, and so this for me was like, this is the school, this is the wholesome job that's like where I can like thrive as a good person and like actually do something impactful. So this was the job that I knew this was a job that was like more risky. It's like this company could fail in 6 months. Like it's really, I'm gonna go there and like nothing's gonna happen. That's part of the risk. But that to me was like, there wasn't a risk in that. It was like there's zero risk because I get to go have this experience, and if it fails, like what am I out 6 months of my life? That's fine. It's not a big deal. I knew staying in teaching would be kind of more of a dangerous path for me, to be honest. I knew that I would go, it was like hitting like almost winter in that year, and you're just like, I'm like, if I stay here, my energy's gonna wane. Like I know myself, and I know it's going to, and I know that I will be destructive as a person if I don't.
Yeah. That's awesome. So tell us, what was it like first, with the culture in India, you going to India, and what was that like for you?
I'm the kind of person who doesn't Google anything about I just like to be surprised. Like, I wrote a bit about what is India before I went, just to compare before and after. And the culture was I had been to, I compared a little bit to South America, because I'd been to Peru when I was 18. That changed my life. That high school trip I went on to the Amazon. So I was anticipating a little bit of that, but it was much more chaotic and messy than I'd ever expected. And I love chaos and mess.
Okay.
I love chaos and mess. And I was like, whoa. I was pretty shocked. And I compared it, and I send you some things I wrote, because I compared it to almost something of people are just in each other's backyards in a music festival type vibe. People just on cars, just standing up, people walking in their bare feet on highways, crumbling sidewalks that I hadn't expected, little things like that. I'm saying in a bad light, but I found it very fascinating that this is just and the mixture of I really love the mixture of rich and poor just like intertangled in each other's lives, unfazed by each other. And like, you know what I mean? Like here in America, I feel like the rich are just like, they can't even walk past something that's like messy or poor looking. They just can't. And so I just really, that part was like, I was surprised at how shocked I was in some ways at first. Like I was like, because I'm never shocked. I'm like, okay, I love to just take it in. And I was like, I didn't know what to expect. And it was cool though. It was like, and then I found it so beautiful, like all the tangles of like banyan trees and just like people like setting up a shop of a stand with like materials and just like making it work with whatever they have. And you can just tell that they like barely keep adding to it every day and doing what they can. I just think it's so pretty.
I like that. Make it work with whatever you have. Because everything has to be perfect.
I know. It's like some regulation here makes it all so similar to each other.
I get it. So, did you get any backlash? Did your parents say, what are you doing? What is this about?
I think everybody at first, including my roommate, I felt like she was the one who cared the most about me leaving. My roommate, I was living in Detroit at the time, and she was like, wait, you're actually doing this? And because a lot of people are like, okay, Kelsey, like, okay, you're gonna, you applied to these jobs in India, like, okay, like, let's let this die out. And then when I actually did it, people were like, this is you're actually doing this. But I think my parents are always, or maybe I've just broken them in. Like, they are not like, they don't, my siblings are more worried. My sister cried, like, she was just scared.
Okay.
But I think my parents were just kind of like, this is what our daughter does. Like, this is not, like, they were for it.
Okay.
They were really for it. I remember telling my mom, like, that day about the end, what her plan was. And my mom's pretty, like, I think, like I said, over time, like, my parents do tune in when I have ideas. They're pretty good about being, like, listening to me, hearing it through. But I will say my parents didn't believe in School of Future until maybe August of this year.
Really?
And I've been there for so long. And people are just, they don't know what I'm doing. And it's kind of frustrating. I came back and people are just like, oh, you're never going back to India. You're going to stay here now. And I was like, no, bro, I'm working 15 hours a day, like, for my companies, obviously. Like, this company's going places. Like, but my parents didn't believe in it until they saw the graduation ceremony that we host at the end of 100 days. The students compete with their business ideas. They give like their expo pitch, they call it their business pitch. And so my mom, I made them watch at like 8 a.m. on a Sunday. I was like, watch the Zoom call. My mom comes into my room afterwards shaking. Like she's literally shaking. And she's like, that part was really good. Like, we should do that next time. Like, it's just, and then she's like, wait, you do this every month? I was like, yeah. Like, we have a cohort that starts every month and a cohort that graduates after 100 days. So we have 4 consecutive groups at all. And she's like, I had no idea you like did all of this. I was like, yes, this is what I'm trying to tell you that I'm like up to. And she didn't believe it until she saw the kids perform. Because it is a really big adrenaline rush of that day when it's their baby, it's their empire. They built this thing in 100 days and they pour their heart out about it, and it's really powerful. And so I think my mom seeing that was just like, okay, wow. Like, she was wildly impressed with what they had built, their websites that they built. She was like, I didn't know, like, you mentored these students and made them do this. And I was like, yeah.
Okay, so tell us, now you gotta tell us about the School of the Future.
Yeah.
What is it, and what is the purpose and the mission? So, tell us what School of the Future.
Okay. And the mission will go, like, there's no, like, one, like, sentence that I have in my mind when people ask me this, because it does always change. And, like, I find myself, anytime I'm explaining School of Future to people, like, when it's a student, when I'm on the phone with a parent or a student who's trying to join, I find myself just getting super energized by it, which is almost, like, dangerous, because I don't know how tired I am until it's all over, and then I'm just, like, wiped out, because I can't help but get excited as I, like, explain it. I do go kind of crazy, and I feel sorry if I'm talking, like, a lot. But, I mean, our mission, we have this word called future-proof, which means that no matter what the future looks like, you will know how to make yourself relevant. Because we've seen that, we know that like so many jobs are going to change because of the technology boom. Like, and we're training students to memorize skills that are going to be done by machines in the future. Like, a lot of jobs are going to be obsolete, and we know a lot of students take this path because it's safe to go become some career that's already established. And our dream is really for a student in this kind of program is for them to figure out everything about themselves, how that can actually come out in a career someday that they didn't realize. Like, I was that student in school who felt like my answers were wrong constantly, based on like the fact that there's always one right answer. And I just feel like there's so many traits that people have that don't get to come out and shine in their jobs. And that's how I feel in my role at School of Future. I feel like every piece of my personality, like between like strategic thinking and like creativity and like my love for conversation, all of that gets to like blast out on a daily basis and I want everybody to have that in their life. And like I hate to see adults who I know are really compassionate and really crazy about some certain things. Those things never show up on when they're in their like workplace. It's like the most talented Americans, I really think, just like do something that like hides who they are.
What do we call? What is that called? Is it left brain or right brain?
I think
is it
left. I always think of left as just like the more like creative loosey-goosey side, but like, and right is the more structured, rigid side. But I know that I'm inaccurate on that. I know that I am.
I just read that the other day about left brain and right brain thinking, and whatever the creative side one is, that's the one we don't use.
Yeah.
We use the one that's structured. We use the one that we hear in most schools. We use that, the logical thinking.
Yeah.
We don't use the creative side. And so, would you say that's what School of the Future is trying to
get students to
get them on that path?
I think
I
would say I would say that's it. That part is what like maybe our innate goal like in the inside is. But I know students they are interested in becoming a CEO and a founder of their company. They're really interested in being able to actually do practical stuff. I think a lot of students are just like, I learned this stuff and I have no idea what I'm going to do with this as an adult.
Yeah.
But I want to do something that's going to be relevant to my life, first of all. And they also they love, like, there's this sense when you're in this environment with students from around the world, you get to be somebody kind of different than you were back when you were, like, you know, I know that since, like, in classrooms, sometimes students feel like, everybody knows me as this. But when I'm in the school and future, like, environment, when I'm with this, like, community, I get to be like this boss, like person, this like who blasting out with ideas that like other people, like a lot of students say, like, you know, my friends don't want to hear about my startup ideas, but like here everybody like runs with it. They're just like, oh, that's wild that you do that, and like boom, boom, more ideas come. So that's how they feel in that environment. I hope we create that for them. I mean, many other things, mission-wise, that kind of confidence part, that kind of like. That kind of sense where it's like you don't have to worry and be like, oh, let me just sign up for this kind of career. Instead, you are like, I know that I'm good at this mixture of things. Because people are so dynamic, and I want a student to be like, I'm good at all these things, and I'm literally going to create the role for myself.
So I'm saying you kind of create your own.
Yeah.
You become your own CEO.
You can, and these students are realizing that like that's kind of how the job market is like moving in some ways. Like you can really, and I'm all for people working in small startups, and they're like when they're young. So good for them.
Okay, so now you have those optimistic parents.
Yeah.
Who say this isn't traditional. Your mom.
Yeah.
She didn't believe it. So you talk to that optimistic optimistic? Not optimistic. Is that the word I'm looking for?
No, I think.
No, I'm not looking for optimistic.
Yeah.
That
doubtful parent.
That doubtful parent.
Yeah.
That one who just no, this isn't gonna work. It's not traditional.
Yeah.
Because we're stuck in tradition. Talk to that parent.
Sure.
Sell School of the Future to that parent.
Yeah, and I've been really blessed to have so many cool, interesting parents like come through. And I think when parents see their students' excitement, they're really happy. But then there are parents who, and I relate to a parent who's like, I'm scared. My student has only time to study for the exams and get prepped for the universities and do the project because I'm scared and I want my student to make sure that I totally get that parent. I really can relate to that. And so I guess to speak to that type of parent would be a bit of your child will take interest in everything else that they're learning on a daily basis when they have an overarching project and baby that is theirs. Like if they have something that is like all these kids are like getting into YouTube to watch to figure out like drop shipping and online marketing and become YouTubers. They are involved in all that, and a lot of parents don't know much about that world, right? And that stuff is cool and interesting and can actually earn money, but I think it's not a it's not a long-term engagement thing. Like if your child wants to find what they should do for their whole life and their purpose, and that's it. I think that if I've seen students when they have this as their project of 100 days, span that is on course for, gonna finish something, they take everything else like more seriously. They are able to like flock into like what's happening in history class and math class because it's relevant to what matters to them as a founder of what they're building. So they will take interest in and show more dedication, I guess, at the end
Yeah.
for everything else, and like they kind of can see how everything becomes more relevant. And then I mean, for also, I just really believe that if a student does this while they're in high school, their choice of college courses is so much more spot on.
Yeah.
Right? Like these kids, one of our students, her project is actually about how a lot of people don't even know what these careers mean. Like we hear all these titles and we don't know what the daily life of that career looks like at all. And these students are just picking things out that they think sound good. And courses wise too, they're like, oh, I'm the science kid. Everybody said I'm the science kid my whole life. I'm the art kid. I know I was the art kid or whatever. And then I actually could have done a lot more with science and business and when I was younger. It's silly that like we're so dynamic and we get so shoved into boxes. And I want a student to be able to enter the university being like, I'm really good at branding as my company. I'm really good at understanding the customer's emotional journey. And I thought I was a total like engineer and I should actually do more UI UX. Like just knowing that clarity and knowing how many more traits or tasks would be in their actual career someday. And so if your child knows that, and they will have more direction picking up classes in college and knowing what to do. Like that's what I know. Like, but I think bigger is more like self-understanding. You know.
I think the word I was looking for was the skeptical parent.
Skeptical parents.
I was looking for. Tell us about the skeptical parent.
So there's a difference between a skeptical and a doubtful parent. I would say.
That's the word I was looking for.
Because some parents they come and they are like, is my child actually good? Because to talk about the fact in the United States, as I said, it's the cost of our academy is $212 because for 100 days, which for students in India and South Africa and different parts of the world, that's a lot, all right? But for parents in the United States, they're like, why are you giving my child 20 hours of one-on-one?
I'm glad you.
For $200, you're not. And I'm like, I'm telling you, like, we are, because we're an early startup in many ways, so we can afford to do it as well, because we have most of our like staff is in India, so and it's a tough topic to decide when to make the change to charge more and things like that. It is kind of hard to because it's going well, so I think it's hard. I think that ideally we just see that the parent is like always pleasantly like, wow, this is incredible that they're getting this conversation with a teacher.
Do you think that the school of the future will take off in America? I think it's a good idea, because I was that student who kind of struggled. I don't know if I still know what I want to be. I kind of struggled, I was that struggling student who you don't know what your talents are. You don't know, this is a doctor, a lawyer, all the engineers. That is what people want to hear. That's what people want to hear in America.
Everywhere too, a little bit. To be honest, in India even more so.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're much more like scared. Like, if you're a science engineer person, you're like, yes.
So, do you see this, the school of the future taking off? I see it taking off. I think it's a long time coming. Yeah. So, do you see this? Is your enrollment, spiking or?
I feel like it already has. It's going to take obviously more sweat so much sweat from us on our end. Like, and I kind of love it, but we love the adrenaline rush. But I already see that it has taken off, honestly. Like, and because I am not kidding you, students. Every one of these students that we talk to is, I've never heard of anything like this. This is one of the coolest things, and I want to do this. Yeah. It's an insane need for it. On different. At first, I was like, "Oh, the American students don't want to work as hard as some of the students in India." To be honest, like I would have been the student that's like, "This sounds like extra work." But then the second that I see somebody else in my class produce this creative entrepreneurial project, I'm like, "Wait, I can do that. Like, let me do that too." So, and they're changing the world. Like this generation, Gen Z, is so all about social justice. They're so all about it. They literally have so many things to say about what they're angered with and what they want to solve. And so they really care about that group is going to do great things. And I want the talented, hardworking ones to be on board with this kind of business building. Not where just like, I'm just going to sign up for a big corporation because this is what's impressive in my society, but more like, I'm going to really put all my talents towards fixing the thing that I care about. That's honestly our mission. At the end of the day, but I do see it taking off in the United States now that we've had so many students in the United States, and I just hear the need from students in the United States. I think that students everywhere care about this, And so, and I mean, they're just as every student that they're all the same in that sense, where they're all literally so similar once they're in a group. Like we have, as we said, students from the Middle East now, a lot of students from South Africa and Italy, Ireland, England, India, and then North America. So these are like, and there's no like things where we're like, oh, this is always the American kids, this is always the Indian kids.
Yeah.
There's like little things, but like nothing. They're all like on that same level of like, when it's something they care about, they work really hard.
Now, do you break, because how many do you have enrolled at one time?
Enrolled at one time, we select about 25 of them to actually join per month. So at any given time, we have about 100 like who are in process, in flow. Like we just had a group start 2 weeks ago. We have a group graduate.
Rotation.
Yeah, yeah. So they're all at different phases, but the course is very much like laid out. Like every week builds upon the last with what they do on the modules, what they do with their mentor, what they do with the group in the contest. So like everything, they're like all on route, and it's really fun to like refine that process for each batch that goes through. Like, ooh, if I have to have a conversation with like 3 kids about one thing, I was almost like, okay, cool, I'm gonna make a module out of this, so that I do, because everybody clearly needs this. And that's what's so fun about being in an early stage startup in that sense, where it is malleable and it's easy to continue to better the process for them.
Yeah. So now, when you have 25 kids in the class, is it all 25 working together? Do you split them up in small groups?
Yeah, good question. So they each do their own project and they have a lot of freedom.
So it's individual. Okay.
Yeah, each of them builds their own business idea. But we actually did something where we kind of categorized this cohort in terms of like, you guys are all education, you guys are all kind of working on like poverty, you guys are all working on equality, you are all working on climate change. So then they were just kind of discussing in their little like 4-person sections during like a Zoom call. And so there's a lot of pairing of like, you're going to work with this person one-on-one, you're going to work with this person one-on-one each week. There's that kind of, we want that individual relationship between each of them. Yeah. So that's, and then obviously we have smaller group sessions that are just like 4 people at a time with their mentor. We mix it up a lot. Like we have so many variations, but it's consistent. Yeah.
I like the idea. Now, give me an example of one. Can you share one of your students?
It's like, yeah. Who to share? So actually, I'll share Katarina. And Katarina is from California, and she's graduating on Sunday. You could come watch her. And she's someone that she wants to fix racial inequality in the United States specifically, which was like, which was hard, honestly. Like we spend a lot of time like talking about everything that people don't talk about when it comes to race. And it was like there were things that she had random instances where she was uncomfortable talking about race. And so she ended up, her project that she's currently working on is so this is what we have students do before they build their like website and make it scalable. We have them do like a customer journey. And so she got together, she had a white teen and a black teen from America, partnered them up and had them, like she had like a 10-page kind of like activity thing that she would do with them. She did like the consultation call one-on-one with each of them, and then partnered them up and had like a series of activities. They did like a scavenger hunt where they took pictures around their neighborhood of just things that were their favorite, so they could kind of, and this is why you test this thing out and you see like what's actually working, what's actually helping, and then doing more activities with them. The 2 of them kind of, she was like, all right, you guys are both here because you're going to do an impact to help racial inequality in America. That's why you're both here. You guys can kind of like discuss these things together and decide on a project that would help. And so they ended up, they're going to do some sort of like, I think, cultural kind of display, and it's like happening this week. So that's just one person that I really, really like hers. Can I talk about one more person?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, and I feel like I share about a lot of students, but this is one student who just graduated, and he was the winner of his cohort, and his name is Necho. Yeah. And
Necho, did I say?
Yeah. Even I don't say it right. They say it better than India. I like the way they say it. I don't do it justice. But he was an artist and really wanted rights for artists and things, and kind of came to the point where he was like so the idea behind his company is called Megly, and the idea is that business owners, they're marketing in ways that are kind of manipulative sometimes, right? And their like marketing is very just like savage. Yeah. And so
a lot of puffing.
Yeah. And so his team of artists do consultations with small business owners to like, and the way they ask questions and the way they like consult basically and get in there and figure out who that company is, then they kind of figure out, okay, well, we want to represent this genuine side of you that you didn't think should be marketed, but we see this in you, so let's market you this way. So then they make videos, advertising videos, and they've had a client in the United States, somebody like that. I'm not even sure how these students find people. We like send them off to do like cold emails and like crazy things, and they found this comedian Jim in Connecticut, and they made a video for his boot camp for students.
Really?
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. And his team of animators. So then we at School of Future, we hired him too. We said, all right, cool, you're gonna make a video for students about like about School of Future since you know it well. And so he edited, and poor guy, like I said, I'm a kind of a perfectionist, and I had like a lot of feedback constantly for like 2 weeks, and kept like coming in and asking for. So he edited it, and it was good. And so that's his company. And excited. He like loves collaborating with all kids in all cohorts in School of Future, and just like that kind of involved student.
Awesome. Okay, so tell us how you get into the School of Future. How would one, if you have a student out there who wants to enroll, how would they do that?
Sure. The main process that happens is we have an admissions webinar at least twice a week. And that class alone is ridiculously fun and informative for kids. So we get students from all countries to come to it, and it's an hour session basically, and it's not a lecture by any means. Like we do activities throughout, asking them just what they want to change in the world, and it's really good to hear all these different countries of students saying what poverty looks like for them, and or what social injustices they see. So we watch and see who's interactive during that class, and then we are able to select about 10 students from each of those classes. We kind of like see who's really involved, and so we select the 10. The students apply officially after that webinar, after that admissions webinar, and then they can they get their acceptance letter from us, and then there's 25 that start in that month.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean other students we have can officially apply just out of nowhere. We have another application on our website, so that student a different route to take, but we prefer them to come to the admissions webinar class to see how they interact with everybody else, to see like how they are in a group environment.
And when we were talking, you mentioned scholarships for those students who may not be able to afford tuition. So how does that work?
Right. So it is, what we do is they request scholarship in their application itself, and then through a phone call, when they get their congratulations phone call from us after they've made it in, we bring up the topic of scholarship, and just on a trust basis at this point, we kind of ask about like what's been happening in your household that is why the need is there, and we can gauge the truth in a student, and are able to offer up to a 50% scholarship to students.
Okay.
Because we want the best, we want a variety of backgrounds, and like we see that a student really, really wants it. It's so powerful to hear each of them. It doesn't feel like we're just excited for them. Like I can't wait for you to go through this. Sometimes you're just like, you will benefit so much from this journey. I'm going to make this happen for you. Yeah. Let's go.
So we're going to put up the link to School of Future and contact information. They don't contact you. Have your contact information. I mean, after this interview, they may want to talk to you personally.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'm interested.
So,
I don't mind.
Right.
I answer emails pretty well.
But yeah, you do you answer the emails on School of the Future, or do you have someone do it?
I have my own personal email,
Okay.
but then we have an info email too.
Okay.
So I'll put my personal up though. Like I would directly, like anybody that like comes to me saying, oh, I watched the show, and that I would be very willing to answer. I prefer phone calls. I'll probably just set up a phone call because I can talk faster than I can write.
Yeah.
So
I think that's me because in my mind I can type. I'm thinking faster than I type, so I get it.
Yeah, and it's always just easier. Like I'll overanalyze that email like way too much.
Yep.
Just get on the phone.
Yep. So thank you, Chelsea. Now, Kelsey. Why did I say Chelsea?
It's okay.
What I want you to do, I'm so used to calling you Miss Root.
You can call me Miss Root. It's better.
I feel funny calling you
I kind of like it too. I was like,
Okay.
Lachelle, I'm going to Lachelle's house. No.
Yeah. So, okay. And I think that's why I slipped it up because
No, it's okay. I prefer Miss Root.
Okay. Give us a quote, a word of encouragement, something you use, maybe an affirmation that you use for yourself.
For myself?
To encourage somebody else.
It's like I don't have a statement or a mantra in mind. All I would say is if you're low, it's remind yourself about that time that you felt like you hit a new realization and you know, finally overcame it, whatever that feeling is for you, whatever that you can recall. Try to recall that adrenaline rush that you had maybe 3 days ago when something did go well for you. It's so hard to recall. When you're in low, you're like, why? To everything.
When you're in low, you're in low.
Yeah.
You're not. You can't be anywhere else.
Moments, and it's weird. It's like you hate everything sometimes. So I think that's like the biggest human struggle is like when all of us are like this constantly. Just depends how big your intervals are. And so I just try to remember like, you know, being a human is so exquisite at the end of the day. That's all it really, like you get to feel things and you can go feel more. There's a million more people out there to meet. So don't stop. Like why would you, like there's so much out there if you go find. So continue to go find. And that's like all that there is in terms of encouragement. I mean, it's not such a disciplined, work hard mentality. Maybe it's more just like life is worth living. Stop.
No, I like it. I like it fits into the school of the futures. You know.
I hope so. Yeah, because there's more to stumble upon. There's always somebody up to something to go
always
ask about and things.
Yeah. Always go find. Remember, always go find. This is thank you, Chelsea.
We can do that part over. It's okay. People call me Kelsey Kelly.
Thank you, Ms. Root. I'm not gonna say Kelsey at all. I'm gonna say Ms. Root. Thank you, Ms. Root.
Yeah, sure.
For coming on Journey to Intentional Living.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, you were awesome. I am so looking forward to the School of the Future. I wish I could have been a student of
Me too sometimes.
School of the
Actually,
Future.
a lot I do. I'm like, look what I do right now.
I probably would have been a CEO 30 years ago had they had School of the Future. So I'm excited.
It's not too late, honestly.
I'm excited. I might take a class. But I'm excited about School of the Future and where it's going and to see where School of the Future will be in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I think education is definitely changing. The look of it is changing, and School of the Future is like right there at the beginning of that.
Yeah, I really think so. Me too. I'm excited to see how education goes, and like let's have a hand in it because we all can. We all just sit back and think, oh, it's screwed, but like, we all have such involvement in education.
Yeah. So when do you plan on returning to India?
So it's been hard. Like when I will. Truthfully, when the visa situation allows me to, that's like when I want to go back. I want to go back as soon as possible. But things have been really good here with just recruiting more American students. So it's been good. So I don't like have any. But I think the bigger thing is that me and my business partner Aditi, we used to live together. We miss like being able to like randomly be like, this is my idea, like at like 11 p.m. You know. So we miss that part. We like have to schedule like an hour-long thing, and then we you know, and because it's like, hey, wake up at 6 a.m. and have that one-on-one with Aditi, and I'm like in bed. I'm like, hey. So it's been hard to not be able to like go crazy with our ideas. Because I think we both are really compassionate and creative people, and it's like when I watch her burst, I'm like, yes, like I love watching her get excited. So I miss that a lot.
Okay, so my goal is when you go back to India, I'm coming to visit, and I get to meet Aditi.
Yes.
Aditi,
yes, correct. So, right.
Aditi, I want to meet you.
Please, like. Oh God, I know, it's like she's so
awesome.
a part of my life, and I like want her to be bridged into everything here too.
Yeah.
I want her to see Detroit. I want her to see everything in Michigan.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Do you think she'll come here or?
She really wants to come. She's seen like the lakes and things in Michigan, and she's like, oh yeah. But I think she wants to come see Detroit in general, because she just knows that I'm like a really passionate Detroiter. And she's like, wow, Detroiters are like really crazy, you know, I'm like in love with their city. Like this is like weird. Why do you care so much? So I think she wants to see everything at some. She would. Good. We really would.
So hopefully soon.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll hope for so. So this is Journey to Intentional Living. We want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Ms. Root, for coming on and educating us a little bit about School of the Future. And we hope you enjoy the show and that you come back for the next time.